In a debate, there is always a pro and a con side. In this case, the pro side is why poverty should be prioritized over climate change. The con side is that climate change should be equal, if not prioritized, over poverty.
For today's debate, we have Ariel Ochoa, and Miguel Asensio. They are for the pro side.
For the con side, we have Luisa Pineda and Joanna Cabrera. Thank you.
6.6 billion. That is the number of the people living on Earth. Nearly half of those, over 3 billion, are living in poverty. And we're not talking about relative poverty like we see in the inner cities like Chicago or Detroit, or the rural areas like West Virginia or Mississippi. Because most of those people have access to shelter, food, and medical care. We're talking about full-blown poverty. Places like Sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, the Global South generally do not have access to the things I just mentioned. As a result, they die. The effects of global poverty are obvious and include hunger, disease, and conflicts over resources. The results being catastrophic for the people affected. How would you feel if you were a person living under these circumstances of complete hopelessness and the United Nations, an organization with the power to alleviate these conditions, would spend its time and resources focusing on climate change? We're here to debate on whether the UN should prioritize global climate change or global poverty. We intend to argue that poverty reduction should be the focus of the United Nations because it's the right thing to do morally, it is the easiest thing to accomplish politically, and it can also benefit the environment. Let me start out by saying why fixing global poverty is a moral thing to do. First of all, global poverty affects mostly children under the ages of 5. If we give those kids a chance at life and an education, who knows, maybe they can be the ones who can solve this global climate change problem if it gets out of hand like people have said. Another moral reason is that there are people living in third world countries who are dying to diseases and problems that are easily treatable. Snap your fingers. Chances are someone just died due to a preventable disease such as malaria. Starvation and diseases are not the only things that are killing these people. Wars against and amongst nations break out due to limited resources, resulting in millions of casualties that we don't know of because the media has forgotten these people and are now focusing their attention on this climate change problem. Fixing global poverty can also benefit the environment. Undeveloped nations are reliant on wood for shelter and for fuel. They cut down these trees, and we all know trees are beneficial for the environment. They provide oxygen, and they reduce the amount of carbon dioxide being released into the atmosphere. They also use coal for energy consumption. By fixing global poverty, we can assure that these people will adopt cleaner methods of energy consumption. Again, the UN has the power and the resources to stop global poverty, but doesn't because it feels like global climate change is the most important thing to focus on. Is it right and humane for the world leaders to object these people because of rising temperatures that might only be a natural thing and might leave us in 5 years or so? Look back in time. 10,000 years ago, there was a global ice age, and we got out of it just fine. 30 years ago, in the 1970s, people were scared of another ice age. It didn't happen. The 1930s had one of the hottest temperatures ever recorded. So how do we know that this isn't just a natural thing? Again, nobody really knows if the effects of global climate change might be as drastic as scientists say. Sure, we can stay here and argue over and over, and we could say that the effects of global climate change are all around us. But come on, there are people here who once believed in their time that Santa Claus was real. How do we know that the effects that you had on the jolly guy in the red suit might not be the same towards climate change? Global poverty and global climate change. These are the two subjects being conflicted today. We stand firmly on the fact that the UN should prioritize global poverty over global climate change. Once again, it is a moral thing to do, it is the easiest thing to accomplish politically, and it also benefits the environment. Thank you.
of all, allow me to explain what climate change is and how it affects our world. Climate change is a worldwide phenomenon. It does not just affect one place or one region. Carbon dioxide emissions come from the burning of fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and gas. We use these for power plants that generate electricity. We also require fossil fuels for transportation. Deforestation, or the destruction of forests, also adds to the carbon dioxide levels. The heavy cloud of carbon dioxide captures the sun's rays, causing a greenhouse effect of rising temperatures. The cost of inaction on climate change is cataclysmic. It causes temperatures to rise, and ice caps from the Earth's poles have begun and will continue to melt, leaving poor defenseless animals to suffer the consequences. The change in heat affects cold seas and polar communities. Coastal areas such as Netherlands and Bangladesh will be in danger and might result in people having to evacuate their homes. Floods will occur. Hurricanes, tornadoes, droughts will be a common thing, and up to 1 million species of animals will go extinct. There will be unbearable food shortages, and human living conditions will deteriorate. My opponent says that climate change is not affecting humans in a direct way, but it affects our crops and water, which are a substance with which we need to survive. When the temperature changes, it may harm the balance our crops require. Crops such as wheat and rice go well in high temperatures, but others such as sugarcane and maize prefer cooler climates. The change in rainfall patterns will affect how crops grow. This will inevitably lead to scarcity of food in places such as Brazil, parts of Africa, Southeast Asia, and China, where people will suffer from hunger. Scarcity of water will also increase. Changes in weather pattern will bring more rain to some countries, but others will have less rain, and eventually dry areas will become drier. Acid rain is another effect of climate change. Acid rain is produced when acid gases rise to the sky and mix with the clouds. These clouds absorb the acid gas, and when clouds produce rain, it falls with a higher level of acidity. This acid rain harms plants, trees, and agriculture lands. It also affects us if we drink water contaminated with acid rain, then brain damage becomes our biggest concern. Climate change comes in conflict with our health. As we breathe in air pollution, the chances of breathing problems or even cancer increase. If climate change is not reversed, diseases will spread more rapidly and infect the human population, not in places where cures are found, but in rural places that contain no antidotes for such preventable cases. Why allow something to get more out of hand rather than embark upon it now and save the world from massive catastrophic transformation? There is a tipping point at which climate change is irreversible. This is called runaway climate change. According to the Washington Post, there will be coral bleaching damaging the world's fisheries within 3 decades. Sea levels will rise by the end of the century, taking tens of thousands of years to reverse. And within 200 years, ocean currents moderating temperatures in northern Europe will shut down, leading to extreme temperatures. These are changes that, when targeted too late, will be irreversible. Meanwhile, climate change awareness is gaining momentum. Many people are conscious that climate change is happening. There are various organizations that are willing to spread awareness, such as 350.org. Millions have begun to recycle and conserve energy, demonstrating their determination to save or help improve our planet. The majority of the world's scientific establishments have come out to say that climate change is a real problem affecting our world. There is more will in people to take action against climate change. If we put climate change on an equal level with poverty, then we will be capable of preventing many of the foreseen disasters that can wipe out life as we know it. When making poverty a priority over climate change, we are allowing an already extreme problem to worsen. Therefore, poverty versus climate change is a false choice. When combating climate change, we also fight to reduce poverty. Floods, droughts, and hurricanes will mostly affect people in the poorest parts of the world, where they are unprepared for such emergencies. By tackling climate change, we will work towards reducing poverty, and there is no good reason why the United Nations should only focus on one problem when it can focus on both. Thank you.